Hello, and welcome to Postcards from a Soul and Her Human. I'm the human Sophia. Welcome to everyone who is with me, whether you are new or if you've been here before. I am documenting a pretty extraordinary journey here through this podcast, and I am in an extraordinary time. And I know I've said that so many times, you're probably desensitized to it. It's just, my life has just been extraordinary for so long now. But now I'm moving into, or have moved into, a new energy that is all encompassing. I've talked about over and over how I feel like I'm between two timelines, how I am existing between two different realities. One is the old reality of my former life, which I refer to as in the 3D matrix, where I did all my learning, I navigated my karma, I energetically magnetized the people who came to me into my life to have these karmic experiences with, so I could get a bird's eye view of what I needed to heal and what I brought into this world or this lifetime to heal. And I've talked about this at length. So my time in the 3D matrix was my learning. It was navigating deaf and blind from the reality of my divine nature. We choose to forget when we come into this incarnation. We choose to forget who we are at a divine level, so we can have an authentic, genuine experience. We want to learn. We use this evolutionary experience to learn and to grow. We don't come here remembering that we are star beings, or that we are interplanetary beings, or that we are uh, a, a soul, even something that is not just this human body. We do that so we forget all of that, so we can have an authentic experience and truly work on growing as a soul, because that's the whole point of this incarnation into the earth plane, which is considered one of the most difficult lifetimes to live in, from a learning perspective. We have interactions with other people who are going through the same thing, navigating their own karma, and we're meant to have all kinds of experiences that push and pull and poke at our karma, and that is the pain, trauma, uh, ancestral or otherwise, that we bring into this lifetime to overcome. And it can take several lifetimes, thousands of lifetimes to overcome. But the time I spent in the 3D matrix was a lifetime, up until I was 58 years old. At 58 and a half years old, I went into my awakening, which was guided very specifically by my spirit guides and my higher self, or my soul self. And I was led into a period of isolation for more than 4 years, which I am still technically in. I haven't moved yet. I haven't gone anywhere. I don't have any new connections. I have let go of every connection I've ever had from my old life. I don't have anything in this current reality, and I keep using quotations because it's so subject to energies, which is what I want to talk about today. But I've been sitting between the 3D matrix and this new reality, or new timeline, that I've been told that I'm going to traverse into, that I have been prepared to go into, this new phase of my life, where I am to live a completely different life than I would have lived on the trajectory that I was on in the 3D matrix. And so, if this were a lifetime of learning, I would have not gone through my awakening. Or if I had gone through an awakening, it would have been a soft one, meaning it would have allowed me to move past my karma and into a more integrated phase of my life, where my life would reflect that, but it wouldn't necessarily be a different life, which this new timeline is going to afford for me. So I have been told very explicitly that I am being moved into a different reality for very express purposes. I have a mission as a soul, as a star seed, which you may or may not resonate with that term. I am basically an interplanetary being who came into this incarnation to accomplish specific goals. And one of them was to heal the ancestral curses in my bloodline. And I've talked about this before. I was brought or chosen to come into this lifetime as a representative of my ancestral line. And as a very old soul, with a lot of experience with incarnations, I was tasked with breaking generational curses or healing the karma from my bloodline. And that includes pain, trauma, belief systems. It can include sins and inconsistencies, but primarily what I was healing in this lifetime was reflected in my life, in my own life. Victimhood was one of them. Lack of connection to my intuition was another. There are two very, very big themes that played out through my life. And these were not just connected to me in my lifetimes, in my evolution, but also to my ancestral line, my bloodline. So as an ancestral curse breaker, which is how I'm described, I am given the job of healing karma that no one else could heal. And the way it isn't healed is it's avoided. So we have coping mechanisms, which is either alcohol, food, or toxic relationships, or we go into depression, or we go into mental health facilities, or we end up ill or sick, and our life is controlled by those outcomes, which are all manifested from not looking within and looking to heal the sores, the open sores in our energy. So that was the first part of my mission as an ancestral curse breaker, and that part has been completed. I've been very clearly shown that those wounds are healed, and that my bloodline is now basically celebrating the fact that that is done. And because of that, I am going to be afforded certain luxuries in this new timeline, a gift from my ancestors. And this is going to be expressed in many different ways, but material wealth is one of them. Now, mind you, none of this can be done unless I aligned with it. So this is really the meat and potatoes here, is that I had to go through this awakening phase, which was a little more than 4 years, in order to come to terms with everything that was in my body. And a lot of it wasn't mine. So I had to sit with feelings that I couldn't identify as my own. I had to sit with visions of things that I didn't do that I knew were not mine. That my job was to sit in silence and to allow these feelings to come up into my body, to be expressed by an emotion, whether it's anger or crying or screaming or sadness, and allow that to leave my body with intention. And I wrote an article that I've talked about before called The Emotional Baggage Handler. And I did an episode about it with the same title, talking about this mechanism in our body that allows us to purge emotional debris. And I had to sit for 7 months in the first leg of this transformative journey, 7 months solid, every day on my own during COVID-19, dealing with these feelings that were coming up en masse. I would sit for hours and cry. I would wake up crying. I would go to sleep crying. It was a terribly traumatic time. And what I went through is an accelerated awakening, because I was meant to be cleared of all of that karma in order to move into the second phase of my mission, which has to do with me talking about what I went through, my story, which is what I'm meant to do. This is the reason why this podcast started a little over 2 years ago from a serendipitous comment from my daughter, and why my very first episode is entitled Hi, because I had no idea what I was doing. I just knew that I was being guided to do this. And what this has done for me over the last 2 years was provide a platform for me to get comfortable speaking about my life, for me to overcome blocks in my throat chakra that extend all the way through my chakras, which of course I've been clearing on a regular basis. I've talked about how I've gone through many, many ascension events. I've described many of them to you on this podcast, where I am being notified early on from the tarot readings, which I've talked about before, that I'm going to be going through an ascension event, and to make sure I rest and that I don't become alarmed at some of the symptoms, which can be quite disruptive, which I've described all those as well. So over the last 2.5 years, I would say, since the healing part really was done, I have been in a reconditioning phase where the old imprints or energetic ghosts of these traumas that I have now purged need to be removed from my energy as imprints. So energy never dies; it only changes. So when you remove emotional debris, what I'm technically doing is transmuting it from low vibrating negative energy or debris in my body to higher vibrating energy that I can transmute into light. And when I transmute that into light, it becomes integrated in my body as a high vibrating energy. So you're really recycling that energy. It doesn't go anywhere. So that's why I say I don't slay my dragons, I domesticate them. And of course, I didn't really understand what I meant when I said that the first time. But as I grow more into this higher vibrating energy and reality, I understand more and more what's happening on an energetic level. That what I have done is transmute dark, low vibrating energy, which is pain, trauma, self doubt, self loathing, um, depression, everything that expresses itself in a negative way in your life. I had to, and this is I'll give you this visual of a line of monsters standing in a row, and I'm sitting in a chair, and each monster steps up in front of me and says who they are and how they affected my life, and I just have to greet the monster with gratitude and say thank you, but I release you now. And that monster then dissipates into mist and is gone. And then the next one comes up, and then the next one, next, and the next. This is technically, well, not technically, this is a visualization of what happens in the body, or my body, as I went through this. Each demon and dragon would come up into my awareness as a feeling of sadness or of pain or remembering something terrible that happened to me. And I've gone through a lot of trauma in my life, and this is my soul's design. And when I say my soul, I mean my higher self, which is just me. I am a projection of my soul into this human form so I can act out this lifetime on behalf of my soul and my ancestral line. And that's what we're all doing here. We're not disconnected from source energy. We are source energy, having an expression of life through this individual sentient form so we can heal and grow and experience ourselves from different perspectives. So as a very, very, very old soul who has done this thousands and thousands of times, I have relegated my soul, who is me, relegated this lifetime for me to go through this mass horrific lifetime, which included sexual abuse, mental abuse, physical abuse, abandonment, betrayal. I was used for my empathic light, basically used and abused most of my entire lifetime, starting from my family, the family I was born into, my parents. And this was what I planned. And once that was done, where I got to the pinnacle or the the pinnacle of the pain and trauma, which was my experience at the end of my relationship with my ex-husband, which I've described before, that threw me over the edge or kicked me off into this awakening, quite literally. And so then I was going through an accelerated awakening. I was told very early on, while I was still trying to recover physically from the emotional trauma I had gone through with my ex-husband, recovering from Stockholm syndrome and the other emotional abusive traits in my body, which of course have been repeated over and over and over in my life because that's the karma that I brought in. I chose all of it. So because I chose all of it, and I'm given this bird's eye view of my life from my soul through my third eye, I now understand all of it. So I don't have to fear it. I don't have to carry it. I don't have to allow it to identify me. I don't have to express it anymore in my life. And so I've changed I've transformed from that person, that version of myself in the 3D, and I've become this new version of myself who is now magnetizing higher vibrational blessings. So when I say I had to align with what is coming in this new timeline, my body had to be cleansed, quite literally, of all low vibrating imprints or ghosts in the machine that I carried for 58 years plus lifetimes before. So my soul chose to heal all of that in this lifetime. At 58 years old and a half, I was sent into an accelerated awakening. And by a year or around there, I was very, very aware of why I was here and what I was doing. I didn't know the details. I just knew that I was meant to overcome this karma, this trauma, heal it, and then move on to whatever was next for me. I didn't know what that was. It wasn't until the last several months that I've learned that I'm what's known as a generational curse breaker. And this I've learned through the tarot, which are repeated messages. And you have to understand, I don't just hear a message and say, oh, that's true. No, I'll hear a message, and because it's new to me, I don't know anything about generational curse breakers. I will just avoid or ignore it. I don't have any reaction to it all. And then it comes again and again and again, and then it starts to resonate. And then you get a feeling in your body that just aligns with you, who you know you are becoming, because this is all brand new territory. I am not in this higher vibration looking back and navigating my way to where I know I'm going. I am coming from this lower vibrating world and navigating into a different ascended version of my world. I don't have a roadmap. I don't have a manual. All I know is what I'm exposed to. And this is what the tarot readings have provided for me, is exposure to information that allows me to connect with who I am becoming now that I've gone through all the healing. So generational curse breaker has been said to me multiple times. And I've received this information also in my social media posts, which I don't follow anyone. I've cleared all that out. So everything that I get is just suggested for you. And there are messages from higher beings in my higher self, my spirit family, and many, many other beings who are around me, who are making sure I understand who I am and what I'm going to be doing, because I have another mission to complete. So I have lived that life in the 3D matrix. I'm being cleansed or transformed from that version of myself into this new version of myself, who I have renamed Sophia. I was guided to do that. It resonated in my body. And what I have done now is not only have transformed from Gina and the 3D matrix, but in the last couple of years also transformed from the person that I was. I didn't just, how do I put this? It doesn't make any sense when I say it out loud. I am no longer Gina. I mean, that's as simply as I can put it. And I was given a new name quite serendipitously through my intuition to call myself as I move into a new reality as a new, brand new version of myself. Now, I carry Gina, and I always will. I refer to her as the warrior. She is the one who fought all the battles that got us here. And when I speak to my body every night when I go to bed, I thank Gina and Sophia. And I tell Gina, Sophia's got it from here. You can rest now. Your job is done. So Gina is basically on permanent vacation in my body, and she's no longer needed because she is the warrior who got us, who fought all the battles, who took all the scars and all the punches, and basically was not equipped to protect herself. She is the battle-worn version of me who is now integrated into this body and who is given now a permanent vacation. So when I think of Gina, I think of her with a pina colada sitting on a lounge chair at the beach. And Sophia is now going to be the version of me that goes into this new reality. And it's quite literally a new version. And I don't want to, it's not an esoteric or a conceptual reality. It is truly, literally, I'm a different person. Having integrated all of this darkness and transmuted it into light, basically alchemized the pain that I went through, not only in this life, but in lifetimes previous and for my bloodline, into translucent energy, which has become crystalline in my body and is now vibrating at a rate that is awakening parts of my DNA that were dormant before. So as I move into this new reality, I am now utilizing more and more of the DNA that I was born with, that we were all born with. We were all born with 12 strands of DNA. but we only use two. Only two strands of our DNA are currently active in the human experience. And there's a lot of reasons for this, which I'm not going to go into. I wrote an article called Resurrection of the Goddess back last May of 2024. Today is July 18th of 2025. I wrote this more than a year ago about DNA, about how it's been capped. And so if you want to read that article, it's on my website. There's a lot of information out there about this as well. It's not just me. I am not a creator of anything new. I am not creating this wisdom. I am receiving it. I am a receiver, a projector and a receiver. So I want to make that clear. It's because I'm so connected to my intuitive channel, which connects me to source energy, basically, which is the infinite universe and all wisdom that exists. I have access to wisdom that I normally wouldn't have. So when I say something like that, it's not me inventing it. I am receiving information through this receiver, which is my brain, and projecting it out into the world or transducing it through my voice and my vibration. So this new version of me is meant to be awakened into these multiple strands of DNA. And this, I've described this before, and I described this before I really knew what I was saying, which is so extraordinary, and how this all works and how I'm being guided. And my brain doesn't always know what my body knows. So a lot of times it takes a moment for my brain to catch up. So I might even say something like dismissive about what I know, and then I have to go, wait a minute. I know this. I don't have to pretend that I don't anymore. My brain does not have to be satisfied anymore. My brain is no longer driving this body. I have gone from a mental, brain-driven, which is ego-driven lifetime to a heart-driven lifetime. And this is the difference between dimensional realities. In the 3D matrix, this was my primary guidance because I didn't have connection to this. So I struggled and I suffered basically throughout the 58 years before my awakening. When I became connected intuitively, which was one of the karma that I had to overcome or heal. And this was not just mine, this was a very big one for my bloodline. So because I have healed this intuitive karma and I now have this extraordinary access to source energy, my higher self, the star beings who are guiding me, and there are many, many, many of them. I've been made aware of many of them, including a dragon and ascended beings and the angelic realm, are all with me right now, working with me. This intuitive access, this ability to connect with source was something, like I said, that my bloodline suffered from. So because I have healed this intuitive channel, everybody born after me into my bloodline will not have this karma to heal. So what that means is every human that comes into incarnation, every interplanetary being from my bloodline that might incarnate on another planet will no longer have to deal with a loss of intuitive connection. I healed that. Yes. So this has been made very clear to me. So as I heal karma, that healing gets echoed through the bloodline, and every person born after me, including the girls, my babies who are currently here, will not ever have that issue. So everything I heal gets echoed down the bloodline. So as I move into this new phase or this new timeline, I am starting to experience awakening abilities in my body. And I come to understand that these are because the DNA strands, which are mostly dormant because they're connected to our ethereal selves. That's what I started to say. I said this before, not really understanding why, that our DNA, the dormancies, which is regarded as junk DNA, are DNA that is dormant because it is connected to our higher or ethereal selves or the cosmos or God or however you want to characterize that. And as I'm going through these understandings of these new abilities, and I'll talk about one of them in a moment, I am receiving information through tarot and through the social media about DNA because everything that I received is relative to what I'm going through. So I am not, this is so interesting too, because I've always been a mutt growing up. My heritage is of a mutt. I'm part Italian, I'm Scottish, I'm Irish, or not Irish, something in Transylvania area. I am English, and there's a few others, but I'm just this mutt. And I understand that. I'm of many cultures, and I going through my life, I've always felt like a mutt. I didn't really identify with any one thing or one person, one culture, one belief system. I never really believed in religion. I didn't have any thing that I really clung to as a cultural belief or a natural kind of inclination to understand. Wasn't ever drawn to learning anything in particular. I always felt like I had a deficit because I didn't have a specialty. And I always just seeked out work that I could make money so I could survive. I wasn't driven to do anything like a lot of people are. People know at a young age they want to be a doctor or a lawyer or whatever. I never had those inclinations. I just kind of floated through life hoping that something would find me. And now I understand at such a deeper level why that was. I wasn't meant to know one thing. I'm meant to know everything. And I always think of the movie Slumdog Millionaire, how this young man, if you haven't seen the movie, he was impoverished. He was born in poverty. He had to fend for himself from a very early age. And he went through this journey of survival that turned out to be a journey of absolute wisdom for him. And he ended up on a game show where he had to know things that nobody expected him to know. But he actually won the show because he knew things from his very diverse experiences as an impoverished young man in an impoverished country. It's an extraordinary story, but I relate to that so much because I am not him, of course, but the way I gathered my uh, structure or the foundation for what I'm doing now is by living a life of just very diverse exposure to many, many things that nothing made sense in a coherence at all. So now that I'm in this new energy, that's a foundation for where I'm going, because I'm meant to talk about a very diverse life, a very diverse set of circumstances, and all the effect that it's had on me. So anyway, as I'm going into this new reality, I'm learning about these things as I need to know. And there are many other things, which I'm going to touch on just a few. One of them is DNA. And because I've thought about this a lot. Okay, well, what are the other strands of DNA? Why aren't they activated? And I do know why they're not activated. I shared this in that article. As I said, I won't go into it here. It's conspiracy theory territory, and I just don't need to bring that in here. It's not necessary. So I received a social media post very recently about DNA. And I want to read it to you because it's a lot of information. So I'm going to very quickly, I just took notes. I think I'm going to share the link to it if I'm able to on my YouTube channel, which is at Postcards from a Soul, which is where all my video episodes are posted. The audio only are on all the audio platforms. And you can also see them on my website, which is postcardsfromasoul.com. So I want to read this to you, if you don't mind. Excuse me. And I'm going to then talk about this a little bit more with what I've been going through, my experiences, which are extraordinary lately. So DNA is actually 12 strands, not 2. And this is something that I've been very well aware of over the last several years in serendipitous information that's delivered to me, but I didn't know to this degree. Okay. DNA is actually 12 strands, not 2. Dormant codes, instructions, keys, memories, each is a link to a specific function. And this is a list of what each of them are. And again, this is just a highlight, but I just want to give you an idea of what we are missing as human beings without this connection to our cosmic selves. And I'm not saying that we should have this, certainly not in the lower vibrations, because we would not be able to have an authentic experience. But now that I'm being ascended into this new dimensional reality, which is including a new location, which I'll talk about in a moment, I am being made aware of what's happening in my body as the dormant DNA is being awakened. So let me read this to you. The first strand is your root. It's your sense of safety and stability, and anchors us here in this body on this planet. So that first strand is what keeps us here and we're not floating off back into the ethos. The second is our emotional clarity, is our ability to feel without drowning. And this is why we come here, is to feel. This heart is a portal. It provides us an experience that we can't get anywhere else. It is literally a machine that that pumps out frequency and emotion. And this emotion is why we come here, because the experience of emotion allows us to have these incredible transactional experiences with other people, which push us to grow and grow and grow. Without the heart, without emotions, none of that would be possible. The third strand is soul origin. It holds the memory of who you were before Earth, before this life. So the understanding that you are either an interplanetary being, which is an extraterrestrial being, possibly a hybrid humanoid who is having an experience in human form. That's me, partly me. I'm also an angelic soul having an experience. So I'm a hybrid starseed on many levels. But there's also human souls. And human souls, from what I understand, only incarnate on Earth. But they are very aware that they are not only human. But they strictly go to the human experience over and over again. And so angelic souls and interplanetary souls have different missions here. I am on a dual mission. I'm a star seed or an interplanetary soul and an angelic soul. So I have a dual mission here beyond the generational curse breaking. I'll talk about that maybe another time, but the soul origin is an awareness that we are not human. We're not innately human. Okay. The fourth strand is your planetary mission, the reason you came, what you're here to do, even if you forgot. So this is something that I have been awakened to recently over the last several months, what I'm doing here. And I've talked about it just a little bit, sharing my story, my voice. There are many, many other abilities that I'm meant to experience that are going to bring me into other areas of healing and of work as a witch, which I know people don't like that term, but I am a witch in a healing category. There are many types of witches. They are basically connected to Mother Earth and all of her gifts, and that's what a witch is. There is dark magic, of course, which if you are a good witch, you don't have knowledge of that. You're not driven by that. Just like everything that is light, there is a dark polar opposite. Everything is on a scale. It's not good and bad. It is good on a scale that goes to bad, and there's everything in between. There is not light and dark. There is darkness that goes on a scale to brightness or to the light. There's no one or the other. They are not two separate things. They are the one thing on a sliding scale. So polarity is important and is the only okay. Polarity is the need for opposites to exist in order for the contrast to be there. Otherwise, there'd be no contrast. Without darkness, you wouldn't be able to see light. So it's a sliding scale of dark to light, light to dark. It's not two separate things. So not to get too far off what I'm doing. So your planetary mission is the reason you came, what you're here to do, which is what I'm remembering now. Number 5 is access to your lineage, the ancient lines you came from. And this is something I'm becoming more and more aware of through serendipitous posts and other information coming through intuitively and through the tarot readings. And things that I have learned about myself is that I had lifetimes in both ancient Egypt and Atlantis. I was a pharaoh in my ancient Egyptian life. I have had many other incarnations in leadership roles. This is the ancientness of my soul. And I came here to do something very similar, but very different. And I'll talk about that as it happens. So this is something that I'm becoming more and more aware of. My lineage, my ancestral lineage, my lineage of lifetimes that I have led. I am currently a Pleiadian soul. So when I go back home, I'm going back to the Pleiades, which is where my humanoid self lives. I incarnated it into this lifetime from a Pleiadian into a human, and I'll go back to being a Pleiadian when I leave. I'm here as a Pleiadian starseed, and you may or may not resonate with that. If you do, then you probably have awareness of this for yourself. So I'm aware of that. I'm aware that I lived a life or lifetimes in Mintaka, which is a water planet. I was made aware of this back in a couple of years ago when I did an episode about it, and I wrote an article about resonation. And again, I'm learning these things as I go, and these are things that are being awakened in me, so I can start to connect the dots of things that I've learned throughout the last 4 years. So next, number 6 is sound and vibration memory. This is where your resonance sits. It lets you feel truth. So this is really one of the big tools that I'm going to be able to utilize going into this new timeline is this resonation. And this is something that's been growing in my body for the last 4 years, but really, really in the last several months, is if it resonates in my body, it rings like a bell. If it feels true, then it is true. And this is expressing itself in many ways right now. I'm having visions, I'm experiencing cognizance, and I'll talk about those in a moment. Okay, number 7 activates psychic vision, not prediction, but perception, seeing clearly what's unseen. And this is clear cognizance, and I'll talk about that in a couple of minutes because that's the reason why I wanted to do this episode. Number 8 is timeline navigation, the ability to shift outcomes to move across time consciously. And this is, again, the connection to source energy through the intuitive channel, which is then enhanced by the psychic abilities coming online, which is more DNA, which is awakening. And there are some people who have natural psychic abilities. There are mediums and psychics, and they are connected to this part of them from the beginning because that's part of their soul's design. The soul is the one activating all of this. I am not going through a human life where I am hitting certain milestones in my human body, in my human brain, that are causing this awakening of my dormant DNA. My soul is orchestrating all of this. So if it weren't for my soul doing all of this, I would be having a regular human experience. I want to make that really clear. I'm not making this happen. This human being with this human brain is not making this happen. My soul is orchestrating all of this. She has decided when it was time for me to wake up, which was the frying pan that hit me on the back of the head when I went into my awakening. And she has decided the level of ascension I will experience based on my capacity as a human. That's important because I've been told over and over, we're giving you as much ascension as you can handle. So when I talk about the ascension symptoms, that's what I mean. If I'm traumatized by the symptoms, I'm not going to be able to integrate the new energy and I'm not going to be able to grow. So they have to feed me this cosmic energy, which is delivered through photon light from the sun, through electromagnetic energy from the universe and many other sources into my body. And we're all experiencing this through the Schumann resonance. If you want to learn about the Schumann resonance, this is basically the universe's way of sending ascended energy into our plane, our earthly plane, which is between the surface of the earth and the ionic mantle, through lightning strikes, and changing the frequency of the energy that we all live in, which changes us at a cellular level. That's what the Schumann resonance is, and we are all being changed by that, especially right now. So this energy comes into my body and it starts to change me at a molecular level. And this is changing my body, as I talked about before, from a carbon-based body, which is heavy, dense energy, which is needed for me to be an earthbound human, into a crystalline light body, which is made of light. And this light vibrates the water or turns it to crystalline in my body. We're 70 to 80% water in our body. And this is by no mistake. This water is the conductor of all the energy that comes into our body. So when this water is activated by these photon light particles and all this light that comes in, it's all light and vibration and sound. When it comes into my body, it changes me at a molecular level. It vibrates the water in my body, turns it crystalline, which vibrates against my DNA. I have no idea what I'm saying right now. It vibrates against the DNA and awakens these dormancies. Something like that is happening because that's how this works. This is all a very, very ethereal or particle-driven reality that's being pushed into this molecular physical reality of this body and changing it from the inside out. So because I have changed so much into this crystalline being, I actually require less food. And I've been guided very clearly over the last several months to change my diet dramatically. And I talked about this in the last episode. The toxins in our food and in our water, which calcify our pineal gland, which is our antenna that connects us to the source energy, our ethereal selves, and how it's calcified through living, and it needs to be decalcified in order for us to be connected again. So I talked about that in the last episode. But my body is turning into what's called a crystalline light body, because I am being ascended out of these denser energies into this lighter version of myself that actually requires less food and is less tolerant to processed food. So I've been guided towards a vegetarian diet, then to a vegan diet. And I now no longer consume gluten. And I talked about this in the last episode, and I'm being guided towards possibly a raw food diet, which I'll have to see where I go. I'm not making any predictions yet, but I'm just going to respond to what my heart tells me to do. So because I'm in this lighter body, when I go into this new version of myself, or this new reality as this new version, I am operating completely differently. I'm operating as a light being in a human body, and my body has been transformed from the inside out to carry this version of me. So I can now operate more cleanly as my soul, and not with all of the disruptions or the distortions of the old version of me getting in her way, is really the best way I can put that. That's why Gina is on permanent vacation, and Sophia, who is experiencing this light body activation, is going to be the one that takes us into this new timeline. So this DNA, the 12 strands of our DNA are not broken or junk. They are connected to our remembering of who we are as a star being, or as a human having a continually human experience, which is also separate from being human, or that we're whatever type of soul we are, which I've been made aware of all of those things. And now it's starting to awaken these psychic abilities that are dormant in all of us. This is not something that I'm doing. My soul is doing this because it's time for me to move into this new version, this new phase, this new epoch of my life. So the reason why all of this is relevant is because these psychic abilities that I started to experience a couple of months ago, and I talked about this. I talked about witnessing the bridge of energy that was connecting myself and my twin flame to a meeting in the real world that could not have taken place because of universal laws. I talked about how I had a psychic revelation about what was happening when the delivery men were installing my new appliances. That's in a former episode. I talked about realizing in a moment that I was no longer moving to where I had been told for 3.5 years that I was going to be relocated to, which was New Zealand. And New Zealand was connected to my twin flame. My twin flame is no longer in the picture. He has decided not to join me on the twin flame journey. He has decided not to answer the call. I've talked about that as well. And I am moving to a location that is no longer New Zealand. I had a revelation, or a psychic hit is what I called it, when I looked at a social media post about a sacred location on Earth that is in a specific place, that is surrounded by water, and that is one of the few sacred places on Earth. And once I looked at the social media post, I had a hit, and I knew that that is where I'm going to be relocated to. I talked about this before. So I understood in a moment, in a psychic moment, that I was no longer going to New Zealand, that I was now going to this new island in the middle of the ocean. And these have been happening continually ever since that. I had a psychic hit about who my soulmate, this is the man who was going to come in, who was basically taking the place of my twin flame, because as a divine feminine, I'm meant to have a divine masculine counterpart. So because my twin flame isn't coming, doesn't mean I'm going on alone. The angelic realm and my ancestors are finding me a divine match. And this has to be a soulmate. They have to be a similar vibrant quality or core frequency as me. So they're going to be a soulmate. And I talked about the first gentleman who unfortunately was unable to come in. And there is another one on the horizon who I've also talked about. I believe I'm going to meet this person once I move. So that I believe is in the works. But what I've really grown to understand about energy, about psychic abilities is, and of course this is always supported by validations coming in from social media, is that it is, I'm not predicting the future. And it actually said it here, where it said, oh, I can't remember which one it was, that you are activate psychic vision, not prediction, but perception, seeing clearly what is unseen. And what that means to me, what I now understand, is when I have a psychic vision, and I've had many about my future in this new location and about the connections I'm going to have and what I'm going to be doing, sitting and having a psychic like event, like, or I'm literally transfixed in an energy that I'm just seeing in my mind's eye, an unfolding of a lifetime that hasn't happened yet. So I thought I'm predicting the future. It's not what's happening. What I now understand through the support and the validation I received is that I am tapping into a parallel timeline. And this is so interesting. Everything's happening at once. So when I have a psychic vision of a future state in my life, I am not predicting the future. I am tapping into current energy. I am tapping into energy that is in my current field of energy. And this is what I've grown to really understand about what's happening. And this soulmate journey is a really good way to describe how this works. When I thought I was coming into union with my twin flame, who I talked about before, who's no longer coming, I felt like he was here. I remember describing right before I thought I was going to meet him that he could literally come to my door and I wouldn't be surprised. He felt so present in my world, even though I didn't see him. I never met him. And I talked about the October event where all of that was washed away. And that was my soul wiping away the old plan and then reorchestrating a new one, which I did an episode about called Divine Reorchestration. You can listen to that if you want the detail, where basically my higher self sent out an SOS into the universe and said, hey, we're missing a divine masculine. Are there any available? Could you please help? Is what my soul has done. And the angelic realm and my ancestors heard the call, and they found me a counterpart. This counterpart is then activated by their higher self to join me. But that counterpart is a human being, and that human being has a full life going on. And this person may or may not be capable or desire to answer the call, just like my twin flame decided, nope, I'm going this other way. So the first one did not answer the call. He's still out there. He's still going through this activation. I don't believe we're going to meet at this point, but anything's possible. But anyway, so when I learned about this new soulmate, I went through an event, which I described in my kitchen, where I just knew in a cognizant moment that he was my soulmate. I saw an image of him, which was provided to me by my soul team. I looked at the image. I felt something. I wasn't sure what it was. I wondered if it was, but then I dismissed it. And then I saw him again the next day and I knew it. I just said, that's my soulmate. And then I sat down on the couch and I cried, which is my body, my higher self. Don't tell anyone, validating that I knew what I knew. This is cognizance. This is me having psychic visions. I know what's real. I know what's true. I never was able to do this before. This is the most extraordinary part of this. This is not something that I ever experienced before a couple of months ago, back in May, it's now July, when I knew this new soulmate was my soulmate. But I also described how I had an experience a couple of weeks later where I woke up in the morning. I think I described this in an episode. Maybe I just wrote about it, but I'll do it real quickly here. A few weeks later, I think it was, I woke up in the morning and I just knew he was gone. I woke up and I said out loud, he's gone. And I've been so amazed when I see psychics and mediums, which I've always been attracted to watching throughout my life, always attracted to metaphysics and the supernatural. It's all been part of my design to get me here and open to all these concepts, is when I see a psychic working and they say, well, I just knew. I knew the person had died, or I knew the person, whatever. I actually had that experience. I woke up and I said, he's gone. And very quickly through tarot readings, I got validation that yes, he's gone. He has gone the other direction. This connection is too abrupt. The activation he received in his life from his higher self and his spirit guides was too much. He couldn't take it in, so he moved away. He turned away from the connection, and I felt it. I knew that it happened, and I'm like, oh crap, he's gone. And I will never reveal who this person is, even though I know, because it's none of my business to do that. But he turned away from this connection out of fear of what it meant to go into the unknown. And this is, of course, a very normal human reaction. This person is still dealing with his karma. He's not technically ascended all the way through his life, so he has to go through those ascensions now. So he's been delivered ascension after ascension after ascension as much as he can handle. And he got to a point where he said, this is not making sense. Just can you please shut it off, is basically what he said. I'm imagining that's what happened. I don't know exactly, but energetically, he turned away from me is all I felt. I knew he was gone. And when he left, I just said to myself, I said, okay, do I feel abandoned? Do I feel rejected? And I'm like, no, I don't feel any of those things. I never met the person. Why would I feel that way? So I let him go. And I just knew that my field was wide open again. And I did some work with Archangel Michael, who I'm become very close to, who's also an angelic soul, obviously, so is the whole angelic realm. I consider them my friends because I'm also an angelic soul. And they're working very, very closely with me, and as well as my ancestors and my spirit guides, and there's many others. I asked Archangel Michael, could you please cut the cords, any energetic cords to this person who is not coming into my life? I don't want his energy in my field. And I never knew how important this was before I've learned about energy and how it really works. Is his energy being in my field could potentially be a block for a new energy to come in, even though I wasn't connected to him in the physical world. And I've had to have these energetic cords cut from other people as well. One is my twin flame, who was still energetically entangled with me. And you can imagine why. So I've had to ask, could you please cut these energetic cords from anyone in my life who does not serve my highest good at this time? And Archangel Michael, that's part of his function as a protector of the earthly realm, is he does this if you call him in. So I often call him in to do that, because I wanted my energy field opened for whomever might come next. And it wasn't long before I heard about another one who was on the horizon. And I'm not going to talk about him yet. I've been advised not to, and I'm not going to. But I wanted my energetic field opened for this. So what this has taught me, and what I realized as I was making my breakfast 2 mornings ago, is that I am literally free. I am untethered from the human experience in a way that I can truly enjoy my life as a filter, as a sifter of experiences, that I can literally let my life flow through my body and nothing sticks. Love stays. Good experiences, positive experiences that build my ethereal body stay, because they are building blocks in this molecular body. They are new imprints of light and love that I'm going to carry and that are going to keep ascending me. So anything else that is not current energy, which this old soulmate is no longer in my field, my twin flame no longer there, they are not getting in the way energetically of anything new that wants to come in. This is why it's so important to let go of what we have held on to that does not serve us. This is why we're always, 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 always guided, urged to let go, because it is not only the physical letting go or even the emotional letting go, it is the energy that stays in your field when you think about it, or when you ruminate, or you're nostalgic about it, or you're always calling that old energy back in. It is occupying a space in your energetic field. Think of your aura as a body of light around you. If it is filled with old stuff, it can't be sending messages out to the universe to call in newly aligned, higher vibrating realities to you, experiences, connections, people, locations. So what I realized in that moment is I am absolutely free. I am not only clear of the emotional debris in my body, which is an ongoing thing. Even in these ascended energies, I'm still experiencing nausea in my solar plexus, which is an old feeling of not being worthy as I'm going into this new epoch. And my guides, the angelic realm in particular, through readings recently that are coming 3, 4, 5, 6 a day until I can't read anymore, about how I have to be aware of energy that used to occupy my body that now is going to feel like nausea in my solar plexus, or some other pain in my body that is being removed because it can't serve me. It's not going to serve me. in this new lifetime where I'm meant to be completely free of the old version of myself. This is how extraordinary this is. It's not just the old me going into a new life. It is a new me leaving the old me behind and going into a new life. So I'm still being cleared of these energetic imprints in my body. And almost every night, and I listen to readings at night primarily on my phone, I'll listen to 2 or 3. And the way it works, and I'll tell you, I'll open my YouTube channel, and whatever's at the very top of the suggested for you is a reading that I need to look at. And right now it is a young woman, and I'll say her name because I'm sure she wouldn't mind the exposure. Her name is FREYA Ray. She is a channel for the angelic realm. Her channel is called FREYA Ray. She is a channel for the angels, and the angels are very much in my are guiding me right now. So I am surrounded by angels. I am guided by angels and my ancestors. My ancestors have made it clear that they are leaving very soon, that they are no longer needed, that I'm equipped to go forward. But the angels are still very much here. And readings from FREYA Ray are angelic messages. So this is the first thing that I look at. When I'm done with that reading, I'm looking at my phone. I will hit the back button. And if there is another reading right there, then I'm meant to listen to another one. And for the past several nights, when I do this, it's one after another after another. Normally, there's the first reading, which is either FREYA Ray or conducted conduit, which are right now the 2 current most prominent readers who are channeling messages from my spirit guides or the angelic realm. I will back up, and then there will be one more reading potentially, and then I'll back up one more time. And there's a young woman named SOPHIA Return. Her channel's called SOPHIA Return. And she is an ancient Egyptian goddess, basically, or deity, who is reincarnated, and she is supported by a light family. She is what she refers to herself as a hybrid starseed. She's had lifetimes in Mintaka as well. And she is here to deliver light codes. So I go through a light code session almost every night after the readings, and I sit with her with my eyes closed, and she speaks a light language, which is Egyptian, ancient Egyptian. And she speaks a light language, and she does clearings and activations in my body, in my DNA, that help prepare me for this. So this is what I've been exposed to almost every evening for the last several weeks, is 1 or 2 readings in this activation of these light codes from this young woman. And but the last few nights, there have been reading after reading after reading, talking about how I'm going into this new lifetime very soon, and I'll get to that in a moment. And I need to remember that I'm not who I was. That although this energy may present itself as in a ghost form, for example, when I go into union with this new soulmate that I'm aware of, I know who he is, I know what he looks like. When I go into union with him, I am to break through or push through the old reaction that I would have to a new love. And you have to understand, every love experience I've ever had has been traumatic. I don't mean dramatic, I mean traumatic, where I've been traumatized. And I can laugh about it now because I understand the purpose of all of it. My ex-husband was I describe him as an emotional vampire. He was a narcissist. He is, let me just make this clear ahead of time. He's aware that I talk about him, just so you know. He is aware that how I describe him. And he has been very open when he tells me that I appreciate that you pepper that with the fact that you love and appreciate me, because I understand that this man was somebody I contracted with before I came into this lifetime to have this traumatic experience with, so I would go into my awakening. When I speak about him, it is with no ill will. It is with no negative feeling at all. I have deep, deep, deep love and empathy for this man. The higher self of him and I orchestrated this together before we came into this life. And the way I describe this man is he basically sacrificed this lifetime by staying in the lower vibrancies so I could be pushed into the higher ones. So he gave me this extraordinary gift. So when I speak of who he is as a human, I don't feel any animosity towards him. I don't feel any anger, any hurt, residual nothing that isn't light and love. And I mean that from the bottom of my being. This man is extraordinary. He is also an ancient soul. He's also an angel, and he just doesn't know it. He is still trapped in his ego and the lower vibrancies, but he chose that. So he could be so devastating to me that I could have this incredible ascension. So I want to make that clear. But as a human being, he was an emotional vampire and a narcissist. And he caused me, okay, how do I put this? I wrote an article called Love and Emotional Vampire. It's on my website if you want to read it. And I wrote that article before I could write about my experience with him because it was so traumatic. I was so traumatized by it. But basically, what happens in a narcissistic relationship is a narcissist is usually attracted to an empath. An empath is a light being. And when you don't know you're an empath, you get sucked dry by narcissists. It's just as plainly as I can put it. And if you are an empathetic person, you absolutely resonate with this. It is not something I'm inventing. So as an unprotected, and when I say unprotected, I didn't know my self-worth. I didn't have any boundaries. All I was looking for was refuge in some sort of relationship where I would feel accepted and loved and cared for. I thought I found it with this man. But he was designed to break me. So I will just leave it at that. I don't want to speak about him negatively. It doesn't feel good to do that. He is still a human being, and I don't want to denigrate him in any way. Let me just suffice it to say is that he provided me an experience that traumatized me. So I had to work through that. I had to work through all these other things. So I'm being reminded about these old relationships and how they affected me, and not to allow that to come into this new reality. That those energetic imprints, although they're cleared out, they're transmuted, are still a part of this old body. And I don't mean, this old version of me. So I have to be aware that I might be triggered, even though I'm cleared, and to overcome those triggers, to trust that this person that's coming into your life is sanctioned by the angels and my ancestors, hand selected. So I can just trust and I can have this incredible love experience. And that this love experience is not just about two people. It's about me learning who I am in the vibrant love of another person. This is more about my evolution than it is about the physical, the connection between him and I. He and I are unlocking codes within each other. This is something that myself and my twin flame were supposed to do, but he's gone. So now this is going to happen at a different level with a soulmate. So I'm being reminded on a nightly basis, don't allow those old triggers to disrupt what you're meant to experience. This is meant for you. True love, abundance of every kind, material prosperity, success in my work and what I do. I am meant to have a completely different life. And this includes money, and a lot of it. This includes a home in a location I couldn't ever go before. And that's what I want to talk about. What's happened recently is talking about this cognizance, and what I know is I was this was about a month ago. I think it was actually, it's the 18th of July. It was about, I think it was June 12th actually was the date. I was at my daughter's house and I was doing the dishes. The baby was taking her nap and my daughter wasn't home. She went to a meeting and I was doing the dishes and I just had an idea that I'm going to look in this location that I know that I'm going now. I was told it's no longer New Zealand. I was told it's this new location. I mentioned the location before. I don't feel like doing it now for some reason, so I'm not going to. This island in the middle of the ocean. I had an idea, and this is the first time since I learned about this, that I felt like looking at real estate in this place. And I knew where it was, but I didn't know anything else. But I knew the climate I wanted to live in. So this is such an interesting way this took place. I researched real estate in this location by climate. So I didn't want to live possibly in the lower elevations because it might be too hot because it's an island, remember. So I researched, I did a research on whatever site it was, and I came up with a pool of options, of for sale options. And I looked at the pool and it was on a map. So if you've looked at these apps, it can appear on a map and it's like a little location tags and it shows you where their homes for sale. And I'm looking at from a high level at all these homes for sale in this area, and they're all in this climate. So I knew it was kind of the area where I would want to live. I didn't know where I was going. I had no idea. And I selected one, and I opened it real quick and I closed it right away. I'm like, no, no, no. I for some reason, I just closed it right away. I looked again at the high level of all of them, and I clicked on another one. And basically because of the price of it, it was lower than the other ones. And I'm like, I don't know who's paying for this. I don't if I'm or what's happening, but I'm told I'm being relocated. So I found this home, and I looked at the home, and I opened up the link to the home. And I mentioned in the last episode that I saw the house I was going to move to. And so I'll tell you a little bit more about that. I looked at this link in this house that was for sale, and I started to look at the pictures and everything. And as I'm looking at it, I'm just thinking, wow, this is like exactly what I envisioned for myself. And I remember a couple of years before, when I thought I was going to New Zealand, I had a vision about the house I was going to live in. I actually drew a picture of it. And this house was nearly identical to that picture that I drew. Nearly, not exactly, of course, but just the basic layout. And I'm looking at it, and I'm just thinking, God, this is just so similar to what I want. And I'm like, how funny that I clicked on this link and it has all the elements that I'm looking for. And I'm like, but it's too big. It's, and then I realized, no, it's not. It's actually smaller than the house I live in. I'm like, I can easily maintain it. The lot is a natural lot. I don't have to mow lawn and pull mother effing weeds, which I hate to do anymore. Excuse my potential French there. I'm looking at this house, and I'm just having this moment with it. And I'm like, okay, this is just really nice. I saved the link. I sent it to my email, and I took a picture of it on my phone of the listing. And I just went back to doing to what I was doing. I went and sat down next to my granddaughter, who was sleeping on the couch. And I looked at it again, and I just said out loud, I said, well, this could be my house. And then I said, is it my house? And then I said, oh my God, that's my house. It was so funny. I was laughing at myself. I said, that's my house. Just like I had with the soulmate. I said, I just knew this is my house. And I'm like, how do I know? I don't know, but I know this is my house. It was so funny. I was laughing hysterically. I'm like, this is my house. There's no way, but it is. Somehow it is. And I just kept going back and forth because the house is in an area and at a price point I could not afford. I'm just going to say that. But I knew it was mine. And I'm like, I know. So I did some more research into the house. It had been for sale for almost a year at this point. And I'm thinking, well, it's been waiting for me. This house is not sold because it's mine. And my spirit family has been holding on to it. My ancestors have been holding on to it. So when the time is right and I'm ready to go, it's there. It's been for sale for almost a year. I looked at it June 12th, which was just over a month ago. And I just started to think, okay, I know these psychic gifts are new. And I'm like, debating with my mind, is this real? And then I kept saying, but it is. I know it is. I just know it is. And then, of course, I get a validation a few days later in the messages that says, you know something in your body that you've been going back and forth with, but you know it's true. And it won't be long before this comes into your physical reality and then validates you. And then you will know going forward that what you know, and you don't have to question. That was basically the message. And I said, okay, this is my house. I don't have to doubt it. I don't have to not think about it. And another thing that happened before that, which was so fun, is I was envisioning the house. I was picturing my daughters there, my new soulmate who had a question mark over his face, and other connections that I'm aware are coming in, which I'm not going to talk about yet. And I just pictured them, all of us in this home, having these family gatherings, this little ragtag team of star seeds that were going to come together, having this family time at this new home that isn't mine yet. And after a little while, I said it out loud. I go, oh, maybe I shouldn't envision this so much, because if it doesn't happen, I'm going to be really disappointed. I'm like, oh, this feels weird. How do I know? I know it's mine, but I feel like maybe I shouldn't think about it. And almost immediately, I think it was the same evening, I got a message that said, lean into the vision. You are helping to bridge the connection between you and it. You are helping to build the energetic energy that is drawing this house into my reality. Again, it's a parallel reality. It is already happening. It's just not mine yet. So I just have to be quantum leaped into it. And that is done by energetic bridge. This is, again, the same way the energetic bridge between my twin flame and I had to be built. And I described that in that old episode. It's all energy collapsing into particle, which creates a manifestation in the physical. That's how the universe works. Thought, emotion, which is emotion is the strongest frequency. If it's coming from the heart, that heart frequency coupled with an emotion is sending like an energetic signal directly to particles, which then collapse themselves and deliver that manifestation into physical reality. When did I become a physicist? I don't know. But it's so extraordinary to just know this stuff. And it's all validated through social media posts that keep coming, like the one about DNA. When I start to think about DNA, I get something that explains it. When I start to think about my interplanetary being, I get a post that explains a human soul from an extraterrestrial soul or an interplanetary soul, and then an angelic soul. So I have, oh, that's what I wanted to know, and it's delivered to me through my social media. This is how coherent my connection with my soul tribe is, who is a huge tribe at this point, including ascended masters who are working with me, and deities and goddesses like Isis and Mother Mary Magdalene, and many others, including a cosmic dragon who was a gift from Merlin, who was another ascended master who's been working with me. This is how broad the team that I'm working with is, because I'm here on a mission, and I need a lot of support, because the old version of me is always going to be here. So I am being handheld, walked into this new epoch, and this is how extraordinary this has all become. So I had this vision that this house was mine. I was urged to keep imagining it, keep envisioning it, because you are drawing it into your reality. This is wave expanding into the universe, grabbing the resonating particle and that collapsing it into form, which creates that reality for me. I am quantum leaping into a new timeline. That's why it's been described this way. I'm going to be in a completely different dimensional reality. My body is already tuned to that new reality, but I'm in an old environment. So I have to be moved into a higher vibrating environment, which is the sacred place that I'm going to be moving to, that I had no idea how I was going to get there, that I looked online at real estate in this place. I found this home that I basically imprinted on. If you watch the Twilight movies, I imprinted on this house, and I knew it was mine. I just knew. And then I was guided to not only lean into the vision, but to trust that I know what I know, and it's going to be proven to me very soon. Okay. So fast forward to, and I wrote this date down so I wouldn't forget, July 9th, which was 18 days later after I saw the house online and I realized it was mine. And I said this really without thinking in the last episode. I saw my house. I really wasn't here yet. That was before I knew what I know now. But on July 9th, I received a reading that gave me, for the very first time in 4 years of readings, a time frame. And even the young lady said, I normally don't give time frames. She said, but I'm being told by the angels that you have 6 weeks. And this was on July 9th. So today's the 18th. So I'm sitting there stunned. I said, okay, I'm going. I'm finally getting the call to go, but I really don't know where I'm going. I don't know how I'm going to get there. But I know that I'll be guided to, or shown, or told, or whatever. I'll know what I need to know when the time comes. So I am kind of marveling at this new information. And you have to understand how this works. Because I've learned to let go of outcomes. And this is why. Everything is affected by current energy. So if there are other people involved, so a good example is the soulmate or my twin flame, let's go back to him. For 3.5 years, I was to meet this man. I was conditioned to meet this man and to move to New Zealand with him and have this extraordinary life. That was the whole story. That all fell apart. So that current energy changed. The people who are cooperating in the physical world decided to go elsewhere. So the energetic field changed. So again, these are the particles looking to collapse into form, or the wave looking for the particles that collapse it into form. This is wave and particles. This is the non-physical and the physical and how it comes to be. So that all got wiped away in a moment. And I'm like, oh, I don't feel any of this anymore. I literally didn't feel it anymore. I knew it was gone. This is how sensitive my energies have become. When the first soulmate, who was not a twin flame, so I refer to him as the first soulmate, came in, I felt him enter my heart. I described that in the reading, in the episode that I talked about it, where I felt him enter my heart. Then he's now entangled in my energy. When he left, I asked for him to be unentangled, and Archangel Michael did that for me. So I'm open again. I understand now at an energetic level that I need to be clear of anyone else who does not belong in my energy. And this is our job. If you want to ascend and you want to connect to a higher timeline, you have to clear out all the old shit. You got to clear out all the shit. I'm sorry. I just bit my tongue when I said that. Ow. Ow. Sorry. You can tell how excited I am. So I understand how energy works now through the serendipitous information and experiences I've been guided through. So I understand that that this house is mine. I'm given a time frame of when I'm going. So I'm sitting there thinking, okay, I'm being called. This is time for me to go. I already saw the house. I know it's mine. I've been encouraged to just trust that. I'm okay. I'm good. So now what? So later that evening, this was on July 7th, I opened, I'm sorry, am I saying this backwards? Oh, yeah. So that evening, I looked at the reading on July 9th that said, the angels are telling me you have 6 weeks. So in that 6 weeks, you need to get yourself ready. And I have been guided to get my house ready for the last 6 months. And I've been working on that with a friend of mine who's been making repairs and improvements. And I just finished the last project last week. I painted my man door on my garage to match the door on my shed and my front doors. And that was the last project. It's completely ready to go into its next phase, which is to be sold. So I've been preparing. I've been purging my house. I have been paying attention to the readings and everything that's coming my way. And so I finished that reading. What I do after I listen to the readings in the evening is I look at pictures of my daughter and granddaughter, and then I go to bed. And it's usually by this time, midnight, 1 a.m. or later. So I was just closing out my phone after looking at pictures of my daughter and granddaughter. And normally I put the phone down, I go upstairs into my bedroom. But I put the phone down and I just had an idea. I said, you know what? I want to look at the house. I haven't looked at the house in the listing in a couple of weeks because I have the picture of it. I've just been using that. So or about a week, maybe 2, maybe 10 days, something in there. I hadn't looked at the actual listing. So I went to my email and I opened the link and I went into the listing and I noticed that it was under contract. And I've said, oh, And my first thought was, oh my gosh, I'm going. The house is mine. And then right after that, my brain said, are you flipping crazy? That is not your house. Somebody else bought it. And I'm like, oh. And I'm sitting there kind of like perplexed. And then I just started to smile. And I'm like, why are you smiling? And then I knew. The reason why I was given the 6-week time frame is because a physical manifestation of my future has now been anchored in the physical world by way of that house being purchased. That's my house. I don't know who bought it. I don't know how yet it's going to come to me. I have an idea, and I've been asked not to talk about it, and I'm not going to. So I know how this house is going to come to me. Roughly, I had a vision this morning, which is really what prompted me to want to talk about all of this. I had a vision this morning about how this was going to happen, how the connection with the person who bought me that house is going to come into my reality. And you have to understand, I am meant to move into a season of abundance where I am going to live a life I could have never lived before. This includes money, a location to live where I couldn't before. This includes travel. It includes abundance of types I'm not even aware of yet. I'm told over and over I'm going to be surprised over and over by what comes into my life. And this includes material success with my work, which is going to expand from what I'm doing now, which is using my voice to tell my story. into whatever energetically awakens in my dormant DNA as abilities. And these abilities are, from what I understand, as a healer. And I don't know yet what that is. It's not awakened yet, or I'm not aware of it yet. And I talked about this a little bit before. I don't know how this is going to express itself in my life yet at all. But I've been made very aware that my ancestors and the angelic realm are orchestrating with my spirit guides and my higher self a life for me that is unlike any I could have experienced before. And the reason for this is, and this is made very, very clear to me, is because all the work I have done to align with it. Yes, I am guided on a specific mission as a star seed, but I'm also a human being. And I could not experience any of this if I had not cleared my energetic body, my physical body, the weight, the extra weight that was on my body, my diet, which is now coherent with what my body, my soul needs my body to do as an instrument of the divine. I am a human being who is now and completely understanding that I am an instrument for my soul to walk this earth and to do what she came here to do. I am just an instrument that she chose to be born into this native human body, who is a child of Mother Earth, to have this incredible lifetime. And that I, as her channel, or her hollow bone, or her vessel, or her boots on the ground, basically, the one acting out this lifetime on her behalf and on behalf of my ancestors and the galactic nation, that I am an instrument for her to do this. I am not a human with a brain and my own ideas anymore. I have let all of that go. And this is what has freed me from the tethers of my old humanity. This is the difference between living from the brain and living from the heart. A heart-centered life is I'm guided now by my heart. I emanate in love. That's the frequency of life. I emanate of love. I am love. That is why I can look at past characters in this theater that I created as cherished members of a cast that I put together before I came here, including the narcissistic vampire and my beloved abusive parents and everyone else. You start to understand that you are not a human having a human experience. You are an ethereal being having a human experience on behalf of your soul, which is not a little tiny thing. It is connected to source energy. It is an oversoul, basically. And I am a projection of that soul, one of many, by the way, that are happening at the same time into this physical reality for this expressed purpose to have this incredible journey through the 3D matrix into 4 years of near complete isolation, where I was completely transformed from the cellular level out into this new beautiful version of myself named Sophia, after my mother, Gaia, and Mother Universe, Sophia Maya. Maya is also Gaia, which is Mother Earth and my home planet, which is where I originated from before I went to the Pleiades. Yes, I know that about myself as a Pleiadian. I'm very comfortable with my extraterrestrial nature. I'm so comfortable, and this is going to make you laugh because I still giggle about it, is I refer to myself as an experiential transducer. If you look at my website, I used to call myself an experiential physicist, but then I thought, no, I don't want to insult anybody who went through 4,000 years of school to become a physicist. So I changed it to experiential transducer. Because what I do is I take in cosmic knowledge through my body, and I have an experience that I can then talk about as a story, thereby transducing it out into the world. And I'm also transducing an emanation of love through my vibrational frequency. So my presence is also powerful. So I am aware that I am all of these things, that I'm meant to do this as my work. And it's going to expand into whatever ways my soul wants it to expand into. And I'm just been made aware to be flexible and to be responsive to opportunities that come, to connections that come into my life, because they're guiding me down that pathway. But I'm meant to be successful in my work. I'm meant to be successful in love, in friendships, in connections, in my environment, in my community. I'm meant to have a completely different lifetime than I had experienced before. Something I mentioned before is that my soul made sure that I didn't make very many deep connections in my life. And I'm like, when I first heard this, I'm like, and this is why I never really connected with anyone, husband, friend, or otherwise. I've never had any deep connection with any human being besides my children. So I'm walking through this earth literally disconnected from every other human being, wondering why my whole life and seeking refuge in other humans, which caused me to go into this traumatic connection. But she explained to me why. She said, because if you were too deeply connected with other people, it would have been too difficult for you to let go of everyone and everything and move into this new epoch. Because I had to shed every single part of my old self, everything, every connection I've ever had, every friendship, every love affair, every person, place, and thing. I have been living in near solitude, and I know for 4 years, isolation, but in the last year, I have let go of every single other connection that I had, even superficially, through adjacent relationships. I've let them all go. I haven't spoken to anyone really outside of my immediate family in nearly a year, besides one family party where I saw everyone. And this is no offense to anyone. This is just my soul clearing my energetic field of every energy that does not belong or cannot go with me into this new epoch. That is why I was designed not to make connections. I was never allowed to do that because it would have been too difficult for me to move into this new transformed version of myself, missing and staying nostalgic with these human beings that I'd grown these deep connections with. There isn't any, not even one. That's how incredibly special my experience has been. But I would not be allowed any of this, and I want to make sure this is what you take from this, without aligning energetically with it. This is how the universe, the law of magnetism works. The law of resonation. If the energy doesn't resonate, it can't find you. It's a blind energy. It doesn't see you. It doesn't hear you. It only feels your vibration. So because I'm now vibrating at a resonance that is here instead of where it was, which is over here, I'm not going to say this or that. It's not better. It's just different. It's better for me because I get to live a whole different life. So I guess it is better. Anyway, because I'm resonating at this higher frequency, this frequency of love, I'm attracting or magnetizing all of these things that are destined for me, yes, but could not come to me unless I was vibrating at their level. That's what resonation is. That's what vibrational frequency is. It's everything. And I am proof of this. I am moving from this extraordinarily low vibrating version of myself, this lifetime of pain and abuse and abandonment and victimhood and everything else, through this accelerated transformation into this new epoch. And an epoch is a new world that I'm going to be living in this house that I know is mine, that I've been shown very recently, that is sold. And now, because on the same day, mind you, I looked back, and I'll let you go soon, it's getting very late. When I looked back a few days later at the history of sales on this house, it sold on July 9th. July 9th is the night that I got the message that I'm to be ready to go in 6 weeks. That's how responsive my soul family is with me right now as things are starting to happen, that they're starting to shift into the physical reality. I've been sitting and waiting for physical reality to start to appear for a long time because of all the false starts with my twin flame and then the first soulmate, and all that stuff has been taking up space in this journey. But now everything is cleared. Everything is aligned. My frequency is right where it needs to be. And now I am energetically connected, magnetized to this home. And everything that's going to unfold and expand in this new reality, which has been described to me in great detail, which I will speak about as it happens. But this includes travel. I'm not meant to just stay in one place. I'm meant to travel. There's a lot that's going to be going on. So I know that this house is mine and it's now purchased. I don't know anything else yet except for what I know. And I've been encouraged to just lean into. But I've been given a time frame of 6 weeks, and it could be sooner than that. I don't know exactly how it's going to come through. I have a good idea. I had a vision this morning, and I'll talk about it more later. But I wanted to share with you this extraordinary growing of these psychic abilities that are awakening in this dormant DNA. That, of course, I get this message with this 12-strand description in it, which is so poignant for me right now. And I wanted to share that along with the information about the house and this move, this relocation that is meant to happen very soon. It could be, now what I started to say about time is I have to let go of outcomes because of the energetic field is so subject to contributing energies. So the house may be sold, which allowed for a 6-week time frame, which is about normal for a house to go into closing. However, if something else happens to affect that, that might change. So this is a fluid, alive energy. This is not a static timeline that is emerging. It is subject to contributing energies. That's why I told the stories about the changing soulmates and all that stuff. It changes the outcomes. So if I get attached to an outcome, I'm going to be disappointed potentially because the contributing energies may change and change that outcome. So this is what I mean about being free and about allowing my life to now flow through me. I'm completely untethered from need. I'm untethered from the desire even to know the outcome. I'm excited about the journey and what's possible. I don't want to put a cap on that by imagining what it might be when it maybe can be so much bigger. You know what I mean? It's just so beautiful to live in this magical energy. I am no longer anchored into the 3D reality of linear time and progression of age in life. I am completely detached from that now. And I'm experiencing my life as a filter, allowing it just to flow through me as an energetic palette, knowing that I need to keep that clear in order for my frequency to stay here, which is attracting all of this abundance and love and all these beautiful experiences. That is my job now. My whole job right now is I'm literally getting paid to exist. This is how it's been put to me, is because I'm vibrating at this frequency of love and of receiving. And I've earned this right through clearing my energetic channel. All of my chakras are aligned, humming in unison with the universal and earth energies. My body is clear and free of all the debris. That's the work I've done over the last 4 years. I'm so excited, you can tell. Because I've done all this work, I am now afforded this gift of alignment with all the blessings that are, yes, destined for me as a destined soul in a destined lifetime. But for everyone else who is not on a destined path, it's still the same rules apply. The same universal law of magnetism, of resonation. All of us get these gifts. Whatever is meant for you on those higher vibrations is in a parallel reality waiting for your ass. My frequency just changed in my ear, and I was told that this is my soul adjusting my frequency. My hearing changes from one ear to the other. It's just extraordinary to know what's happening. So I wanted to share all this with you. I will keep you updated as things emerge. I don't know if it's going to be 6 weeks. I have to let go of that outcome, but I know the house is sold. So it's just a matter of time before I get information from the person I know bought it, and I moved into or relocated, which is the way it's always been put to me, into this new location where this incredible new lifetime is already waiting for me. It already exists there. I'm not tapping into a reality that doesn't exist. I'm not making it happen. I am tapping into a reality that already exists. Right? Okay, I've kept you a very, very long time today. I just want to thank you so much for staying with me if you did, for taking this journey with me, which is getting more amazing each and every day. I'm so excited to share it with you. I will keep you updated as I'm able, and please know that you can get, again, the video episodes of my podcast, Postcards from a Soul and Her Human, on my YouTube channel. My website is postcardsfromasoul.com, and I'm on all of the audio platforms for my podcast. So thank you again for listening. If you have comments or questions, please let me know. I'll talk to you again very soon.